Shalom, shalom, family, brothers and sisters, shalom, warriors. Let's give all praises, fear, and glory, and honors to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahawashi, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Shalom. I want to go into the book of Acts, chapter 20. Chapter 22 and verse 1. It says, Men, brethren, and fathers, hear ye my defense which I make now unto you. And when they heard that he spoke in the Hebrew tongue to them, they kept the more silence. And he saith, I am verily a man which am a Jew, born in Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, yet brought up in this city at the feet of Gamaliel, and taught according to the perfect manner of the law of the fathers, and was zealous toward power, as ye are this day. And I persecuted this way unto the death, binding and delivering into prisons both men and women, as also the high priest doeth bear me witness, and all the estate of the elders, from whom also I received letters unto the brethren, and went to Damascus to bring them which were there bound unto Jerusalem for to be punished. And it came to pass that as I made my journey, and was come nigh unto Damascus about noon, suddenly there shined from heaven a great light round about me. It's heavy how this is written in Acts. This is John, which his name currently was Saul, right? But the Lord changed his name and changed his purpose and changed his path, because he was in the dark, and he was persecuting the Lord. He was persecuting us. Verse 6 says, And it came to pass that as I made my journey, and was come nigh unto Damascus about noon, suddenly there shined from heaven a great light round about me. And I fell onto the ground, and heard a voice saying unto me, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? And I answered, Who art thou, Lord? And he said unto me, I am Yahawashi of Nazareth, whom thou persecutest. And they that were with me saw indeed the light, and were afraid, but they heard not the voice of him that spoke to me. And that's heavy, because you gotta be destined, to hear the word of the Lord. And that's the Lord's mercy. If you can understand it and hear his voice, that's the Lord showing you mercy. And your action is going to show whether you appreciate the Lord's mercy or you take it in vain. You see, so that's why there's a lot of wicked people in the house of Israel that are being judged, because they are just ungrateful. They're not grateful that the Lord gives us this knowledge, this wisdom. This is more precious than anything you can get in the world, and you can't buy it. It needs to be given to you. Verse 10. And I said, What should I do, Lord? And I said, What should I do, Lord? And the Lord said unto me, Arise and go into Damascus, and there it shall be told thee of all things which are appointed to thee to do. See, the Lord has things for us to do. It's not just talk, it's actions. It says, verse 11, And when I could not see for the glory of that light, Being led by the hand of them that were with me, I came into Damascus. So he got blind because of how strong that light is, that the presence of the Lord, the presence blinded him. Because remember, he was in dark. He was in the darkness. And if you're in darkness and they turn the light switch on, you know, you're gonna be squinting. You're not gonna see. You know, and you need to be exercised in the light. And that's what we're doing. We're exercising our power in the presence of the Lord, in the light. The Lord's presence itself is powerful. That's why even the demons, right? They were like, every time the Lord appears, like they were like, you come here to torture us. You see, and that's what it is. The light is torture for darkness. Verse 12, and one Ananias, a devout man according to the law, having a good report of all the Jews which dwelt there, came unto me and stood and said unto me, Brother Saul, receive thy sight. And in the same hour I looked up upon him, and he said, The power of our fathers hath chosen thee, and thou shouldest know this his will, and see that just one. See that just one that is righteous, you know. It says, and see that just one, and shouldest hear the voice of his mouth. He hear the voice of his mouth, man. You see, for thou shalt be his witness unto all men of what thou hast seen and heard. That's the witness. We're the witness, and the witness don't keep our mouth shut. We share the message. We say what we see and what we hear from the Lord. Verse 16, and now why tarriest thou? Arise and be baptized, and wash away thy sins, calling on the name of the Lord. See, our people, they try to wash their sins by hiding and doing sorceries and pointing at others people's sins. But you gotta wash your own sins the right way through the Lord. Not no witchcraft, not hiding, not deceiving, not making false doctrines, right? Not following doctrines of men, and not pouring a witchcraft potion on you. None of these things are gonna clean you. The only way is with the Lord, calling on the name of the Lord, and hearing the words of the Lord. That's how you be baptized. It says, and it came to pass that when I was come again to Jerusalem, even while I prayed in the temple, I was in a trance, and saw him saying unto me, Make haste and get thee quickly out of Jerusalem, for they will not receive thy testimony concerning me. There it is. Our people are not receiving the testimonies of what we witnessed concerning Yahawashi. Verse 19, and I said, Lord, they know that I imprisoned and beat in every synagogue them that believed on thee. And when the blood of thy martyr Stephen was shed, I also was standing by and consenting unto his death, and kept the raiment of them that slew him. And he said unto me, Depart, for I will send thee far hence unto the Gentiles. And they gave him audience unto the word, and then lifted up their voices and said, Away with such a fellow from the earth, for it is not fit that he should live. And as they cried out and cast off their clothes and drew dust into the air, the chief captain commanded him to be brought into the castle and bade that he should be examined by scourging, that he might know wherefore they cried so against him. And as they bound him with thongs like rope, Paul said unto the centurion that stood by, Is it lawful for you to scourge a man that is a Roman and uncondemned? When the centurion heard that, he went and told the chief captain, saying, Take heed what thou doest, for this man is a Roman. Then the chief captain came and said unto him, Tell me, art thou a Roman? He said, Yea. And the chief captain answered, With a great sum obtained I this freedom. It says, With a great sum obtained I this freedom. And Paul said, But I was free born. Woo! But I was free born. Right. So this world is not what gives us freedom. You see, none of the things that think is giving us freedom is actually freedom. Like money, being economically stable, they say that gives you freedom, but no, it's the Lord. He could just be using that to give you more freedom, but really the words of the Lord, when you're reading and you're receiving and you're eating the whole roll, that's freedom. You're not confused. You're not chained up. You're not lost. You're found. You're in the Lord. And you're free because you know that the way of the Lord is life. And you're not going to submit yourself to any other thing. Once you found what really matters, when you find this treasure, the words of the Lord, His guidance, when you find that, you realize there's nothing else more valuable than that in the world. So now you're not going to be running after things in the world like that. You're free. Verse 29, Then straightway they departed from him, which should have examined him. And the chief captain also was afraid, after he knew that he was a Roman, and because he had bound him. On the morrow, because he would have known the certainty wherefore he was accused of the Jews, he loosed him from his bands, and commanded the chief priests and all their council to appear, and brought Paul down and set him before them. Acts 23:1. And Paul, earnestly beholding the council, said, Men and brethren, I have lived in all good conscience before power until this day. And the high priest Ananias commanded them that stood by him to smite him on the mouth. Then said Paul unto him, Power Yahawashi Hamashiach shall smite thee, thou whited wall. For it was heavy. As it then said Paul unto him, Power Hamashiach shall smite thee, thou whited wall. For sittest thou to judge me after the law, and commandest me to be smitten contrary to the law? And they that stood by said, Revilest thou Power's high priest? Right. They reviled the power of the 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 high priest of Yahawashi King, which is us, which is the only true high priests. Verse 5, then said Paul, I was not, brethren, that he was the high priest, for it is written, thou shalt not speak evil of the ruler of thy people. But when Paul perceived that one part were Sadducees, and the other Pharisees, he cried out in the council, men and brethren, I am a Pharisee, the son of a Pharisee, of the hope and resurrection of the dead. I am called in question. And when he had so said, there arose a dissension between the Pharisees and Sadducees, and the multitude was divided. So it's heavy how Paul started claiming that he was a Pharisee, but the main purpose of why he's doing that, right, is to divide the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And these are all techniques of war, The Lord gives us that wisdom, and we can use it to overcome obstacles and wrap this thing up. And the Lord knows what he's doing through us. Verse 8, for the Sadducees say that there is no resurrection, neither angel nor spirit, but the Pharisees confess both. That's heavy. And there arose a great cry, and the scribes that were of the Pharisees part arose and strove, saying, we find no evil in this man, but if a spirit or an angel hath spoken to him, let us not fight against power. And when there arose a great dissension, the chief captain, fearing lest Paul should have been pulled in pieces of them, commanded the soldiers to go down and to take him by force from among them, and to bring him into the castle. And the night following, the Lord stood by him and said, be of good cheer, Paul, for as thou hast testified of me in Jerusalem, so must thou bear witness also at Rome. And it was day. Certain of the Jews banded together and bound themselves under a curse, saying that they would neither eat nor drink till they had killed Paul. And they were more than 40 which had made this conspiracy. And there it is, the true conspiracy right there, right? That they're not going to eat until they kill Paul. And you know damn well they're eating their ass off. They're weak. They're not capable of doing these things, right? But they're just petty. That's a petty attitude, right? They know they can't win over the righteous. We have the victory already, and they're trying to find another way to destroy us. But see, they're not eating or drinking, right, of the Lord. They're not eating and drinking of what gives you life, because they're not worthy of that. If they, you know what I'm saying, like, they don't see the value of eating and drinking of the Lord. They don't see the value of that. They reject it. They're dead, you see, like a dead body, right, buried. They don't have no breath in them. And it's not because they don't want it. It's just that it's not given to them. It's not given to them. It's only given to the ones that have life. You can breathe only if you have life. So guys are dead. Verse 13, and they were more than 40 which had made this conspiracy. And they came to the chief priests and elders and said, we have bound ourselves under a great curse, that we will eat nothing until we have slain Paul. Right? They're witches. They just curse themselves. It says, now therefore, yea, with the counsel signify to the chief captain that he bring him down unto you tomorrow, as yea would inquire something more perfectly concerning him. And we, or ever he come near, are ready to kill him. And when Paul's sister's son heard of their lying in wait, he went and entered into the castle and told Paul. And Paul called one of the centurions unto him and said, bring this young man unto the chief captain, for he hath a certain thing to tell him. So he took him and brought him to the chief captain and said, Paul, the prisoner, called me unto him and prayed me to bring this young man unto thee, who had something to say unto thee.
This man
Then the
was
chief captain
tormented
took
by
him by
demons,
the hand and went with
couldn't
him
be at
aside
peace,
privately
and
and
he had
asked
to
him,
hang
what
himself.
is that thou hast to tell
Matthew
me?
26,
And he said, the
verse
Jews
57.
have agreed
They that had
to
laid
desire
hold on
thee
Yahawashi
that thou
led
wouldest
him
bring
away
down
to
Paul tomorrow into the
Caiaphas,
council,
the high priest,
as
where the
though they
scribes
would
and the
inquire
elders were
somewhat of
assembled.
him more perfectly. But do not thou yield unto them, for there lie in wait for him of them more than 40 men, which have bound themselves with an oath that they will neither eat nor drink till they have killed him. And now are they ready, looking for a promise from thee. So the chief captain then let the young man depart, and charged him, see thou tell no man that thou hast showed these things to me. And he called unto him 2 centurions, saying, make ready 200 soldiers to go to Caesarea, and horsemen 60, and spearmen 200, at the 3rd hour of the night, and provide them beasts, that they may set Paul on, and bring him safe unto Felix the governor. And he wrote a letter after this manner. Claudius Lysias unto the most excellent governor Felix sendeth greetings. This man was taken of the Jews, and should have been killed of them. Then came I with an army and rescued him, having understood that he was a Roman. And when I would have known the cause wherefore they accused him, I brought him forth into their council, whom I perceived to be accused of questions of their law, but to have nothing laid to his charge worthy of death or of bonds. And when it was told me how that the Jews laid wait for the man, I sent straightway to thee, and gave commandment to his accusers also to say before thee what they had against him. Farewell. That's the letter, right? It says, then verse 31, then the soldiers, as it was commanded them, took Paul and brought him by the night to Antipatris. On the morrow they left the horsemen to go with him, and returned to the castle, who when they came to Caesarea and delivered the epistle to the governor, presented Paul also before him. And when the governor had read the letter, he asked of what province he was. And when he understood that he was of Cilicia, I will hear thee, said he, when thine accusers are also come. And he commanded him to be kept in Herod's judgment hall. And I'll read the rest another day, but it's heavy how we can see the Lord does not let his men down. You know, our enemies are always plotting, but their plans are working against them. And we just need to keep the faith and keep doing the works, and clean ourselves continuously with the name of the Lord. Fight the sins, fight the lust of the world. And you, brothers, stay strong. Pray for a few days. Pray for one another. And keep letting the Lord guide you. Keep the light and stay away from darkness. All praises and fear and glory and honors to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahushua, Ba'ashim, Rakakwadash, Shalom.